Let's take a look at E. In problem E, again, we have something that's squared, so again, we're going to be dealing with the U shape. This time we've got two parts, though. We've got a +2 on the inside. Anything on the inside is going to shift us left or right. Well, remember, a +2 is actually going to shift us to the left 2. And then we also have, let's see, a -5. Because that's on the outside, that's going to shift us down 5 because it's negative. So we've got our U shape. Our normal U shape is at 0, 0, 1, 1, and -1, 1. And it normally looks something like this. Now we're going to do two parts. We're going to shift everything left 2, then down 5. So we're going to go left 2. We're going to start with the center point. We're going to go left 2, 1, 2, and then down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5. And that will be our new base to our parabola. We still need to do this with the other 2 points. So starting out with the next one here, we'll go 1, 2, and then down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do that with the other point too. We'll go 1, 2, and then down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we'll draw our U shape, our final answer. Okay. Next, we want to go after our domain for that graph and our range for that graph. So looking at our domain, remember we read our graphs from the smallest end from -infinity towards +infinity. Our graph does go forever in both directions, left and right. So our domain will be -infinity to +infinity. However, our range, working our way from the bottom at -infinity up to the top at +infinity, is a little different because our graph doesn't even start until here, down here at the bottom here at -5. Then it will continue upward forever. So that gives us a range of -5 to +infinity. Remember, infinity will always have a parentheses. However, we do have a big point at -5, which means we do need to include the fact that there is a graph at -5 in our range, so we will use a bracket. Second to last problem here in F, we do have, again, something that is squared, which means we'll have our U shape, our parabola shape. We also have a -5 inside, which means we're actually going to move to the right 5. Then we have a +2 on the outside, which means we're actually going to go up 2. So let's draw our original graph first, which has 0, 0, 1, 1, -1, 1, and has our U shape. And then we're going to move all of our points right 5 and up 2. So we'll start with this center piece first. We'll go right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to go up 2. 1, 2. And that will be our base to our parabola. Now we need to do the same thing to the other 2 points. We'll start at this one over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then up 2. 1, 2. One more point to go after is this one over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then up 2. 1, 2. And that will be where our new parabola lands, and that's going to be our final answer. Then we can talk about finding our domain and our range. So our domain is going to be from -infinity to positive infinity. Working our way from left to right, it does continue in both the left and right in both directions. So our domain will be negative infinity to positive infinity. However, our range will not. If we start our graph down here at negative infinity and work our way up, notice that the graph doesn't even start until we hit up here at a value of positive 2 because we went up 2. But then our graph will continue on the upward swing towards positive infinity forever. So that means our range is going to be 2 to positive infinity with a parentheses, but at 2 we do have a point. We have a graph there. So that means we will have to also put a bracket at 2. But we're done. Last one on this page, we should be noticing that we have a square root, which means what's the shape of a square root? Well, remember it's the half of a parabola on its side. So it normally goes through 0, 0, and 1, 1, and looks something like this when you're just looking at just the regular square root of x graph. However, we have a minus 4, which is going to shift us to the reverse right 4. And then we've also got a plus 1 here, which is also going to shift us up 1. So we'll take our 2 points, each one of them, and shift them to the right 4 and up 1. So starting with the first point, we'll go to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, and then up 1. Then we got to do that to our other point. So we'll start there, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then up 1. And then we can draw our half of a parabola on its side, and that will be our final graph. And then we can talk about our domain and our range for this green graph, the final graph here. And let's see. Working on our domain, working from negative infinity to positive infinity, working from left to right. Notice our graph here on this one does not even start until we get to, on the right-hand side here, a positive 4. However, it does continue on forever after that. So our domain will be 4 to infinity with a parentheses. Because there is a point at 4, just like all of our other graphs, we are going to use a bracket at 4. There's a graph at 4, so we need to include it. Now let's talk about our range. Our range is going to be working from the bottom down at negative infinity up towards positive infinity. Notice working that direction, our graph doesn't start until up here at positive 1. And then it does continue on forever after that towards positive infinity. So what that means is our range is going to be from 1 to infinity, again with a parentheses. Just like before, there is a point here at 1. And we want to include that part of the graph, so we'll have to use a bracket. So our domain was from 4 to infinity because we moved it to the right 4. And our range was from 1 to infinity because we moved it up 1. And our shape was the fact that we have half of a parabola on its side. So let's take a look at our final graph here in this section. On this final graph, we've got a cubed graph. Well, 3 on it. Remember what a cube graph looks like? The shape looks like a snake going upward, something like this. Then we've got a plus 1 on the inside next. Remember, that's going to do the opposite of what you'd think, so it's actually going to shift us left 1. Then we've got a minus 2 on the outside, which is going to shift everything down 2. So originally the graph, before you do anything, goes through 0, 0, 1, 1, and -1, -1, and looks something like this. Not perfect. Now we're going to take all of our points and shift them left 1 and down 2. So let's start out with the one that's on the bottom here and go left 1 and down 2. And then we'll go to the next one, the next one here, left 1 and down 2. And last one up there, left 1 and down 2. And look, we get 3 points in a row again, same S shape. Except for this one is now our final answer. We shifted the whole graph left 1 and down 2. Now our range, let's take a look at that, and our domain. Let's see, let's start out with domain and then we'll move on to range. Starting out with our domain, reading our graph from left to right, from -infinity to +infinity, what we'll notice is our graph continues in both directions forever. So our domain is -infinity to +infinity. Let's take a look at our range, working our way from bottom down at -infinity towards the top at +infinity. Let's see. Well, working our way from bottom to top, notice our graph continues on forever in both directions again. So our range is also going to be a -infinity to +infinity. And that's our final graph and our final domain and range written out. In these next few examples, we're given a picture and we want to find the actual equation to the graph. So let's start out with